What's going on, guys? I'm Jody. This is Inspire Woodcraft. Today I have a unique sort of issue that I'm up against, and I have an idea on how to solve said issue, and I figured I would film it. If it works, then this is going to be awesome information to pass on to you guys, and if it doesn't, well, then you'll all know that I'm a phony and a big fat screw up. So what I have here today is this enormous cutting board. This is 27 roughly inches long, 20 and a half roughly inches wide. It is 2 1/4 inches thick. It is solid maple, and the thing is an absolute beast. I had to mill this up in 2 different sections and then glue the 2 sections together because my planer is only so big. So I have a left and a right glue up that are glued together. When I went to glue these together, I realized that I accidentally cut one just a little bit longer than the other. So when I glued them together, I tried to flush one end up the best that I could. The issue is that when I cut them, my blade wasn't exactly at 90 degrees. So you can see this project's been a pain the whole way through. That means that one panel is kind of off to this at an angle just a little bit, and then the other panel is at the opposite angle because each panel has a top and a bottom. Both bottoms need to go on the same face, both tops need to go on the same face. So when I glued them together, now I no longer really have a nice flush side. It won't really register against the fence very well. The idea is that with this side flush, that I could just throw it into the table saw and just cross cut it this way and trim this part off and then flip it around and do it again to doll that end up. It's just not gonna work. So I do have an idea. What I've done is ripped couple pieces of plywood, cut them to length, the length of the cutting board, and then waxed one side. This is gonna make it very smooth for gliding onto my tabletop surface. The idea here is to double side tape them, wax side facing away from the board, kind of like this. This one will overhang by just a little bit. This one will basically be here for support. We'll double side tape them to this and then flip it over and run it through. That means that the fence will be registering off this piece of plywood and not off of the board any longer. There's one catch, and the catch is that I actually need to do the sides first. I need to do the lengthwise cuts. So I'm going to be doing 2 cuts. Well, 4 cuts. I'm going to do 2 rip cuts and 2 cross cuts. Now, the reason is because this has a little bit of a convex on one side, and I think it actually has a little bit of concave on the other side, which means that I can't just square this up. Because if I was to square this up, on this side, it ends up being a little bit of a taper. On the other side, it ends up going the other way. So we need to start with one true side before I can move on to anything else. So what I'm going to do instead is we'll start with the rip cuts. I will put this on here kind of like so and overhang it just a little bit. We'll get it squared up as well as I can. And when we flip it over, like I said, that'll register against the fence. Hopefully this is all making sense. This is one of those things where I have to do it all kind of in one take because I can't uncut this. So bear with me. I am going to be using 2 different blades just in case anybody is wondering. And I've already went through and cleaned them up ahead of time. I want as little material removed from this project as possible because it's already smaller than what I really wanted it to be in the beginning. And the more I nibble away at little bits and pieces, the worse it's gonna get. But I've already cleaned up the blades. For the rip blade, I'm using the Forest Woodworker 2. It is a flat top grind, and I don't like using it for this type of stuff because it's such a good joinery blade that I like to just leave it for joinery. But it is also one of the best rip blades I have in the shop, if not the best rip blade I have in the shop. For the crosscut blade, I'm going to use the CMT Orange Fine Cutoff. This is a 60 tooth flat top grind and alternating top bevel. And that blade works really well for both plywood and crosscuts. I've used it on these crosscuts for this particular job already, so I know it's gonna do a good job. Now I just need to double side tape these. So I am going to go ahead and stick these down to here, and then we'll see if I can't screw this whole thing up. So I don't know if you guys are going to be able to actually see this or not, but this is with it right off the saw. We might be able to see that there's a little bit of saw marks, but not much. That can be very easily cleaned up. I'm pretty happy with that. Now we got to turn it around and we'll run the other side through. All right, I have already installed the crosscut blade. We're gonna get rid of the 1-inch tape, and I'm going to try 2-inch tape, which you guys probably never see me use in the shop because the 1-inch is so darn convenient, but I don't like wasting so much of it. So if now I just take a simple square and square this panel up like so, when I check my reveal over here, I know you guys can't see this, but I have a reveal here on this side, and when I push down on here and slide my square up, my square is also square on this side. That means, to me, close enough at least, we have our 2 parallel sides. It means also that now I'm gonna be able to make a cut that's actually going to be 90 degrees to these edges. So what we wanna do is we wanna overhang this by just a little bit. I'm going to try the 2-inch, and on this one, we're just gonna use a strip in the middle because we don't need it to be crazy. All right, I'm gonna overhang it by just a little, and we're going to see if I'll get right up to the edge here. And I think that is good. We'll put our other one on there, and then we'll go ahead and start running it through the saw. So once again, I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to tell how clean of a cut that is. We got a couple little saw marks here and there, but that's not bad, and it's not really anything I'm too worried about because I can sand that out. My biggest thing is no burn marks, so pretty excited about that. Let's flip it over and cut the other side. All right, you guys probably aren't gonna be able to see it from way up there, but this looks to me like square, which is exactly what I wanted. If I was being really critical, I could get just a touch more square. Of course, I have some little bits here that need to be taken off. That's better. That's about as square as I could get it. And I wouldn't have been able to do it had I not thought of that plan to begin with. It looks like the 2-inch stuff actually comes off a little bit easier than the 1-inch stuff, so who knew? Hopefully that helps somebody out there. I am so glad that this worked out. It's very simple, couple scraps of plywood. One is to reference against the fence, the other one is just simply to elevate and support the material. Pretty easy. Nice to have a sled, but like I say, I don't want to build a sled just for this specific project. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching as always. We'll see you guys in the next video.